Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Tempered Leadership. I'm your host, Eric Rieger, and today I have the honor and pleasure of being joined by my good friend, Charles McLimans of Holy Wisdom Monastery out of Middleton, Wisconsin, which is right near Madison. Charles, welcome.
Hey, good afternoon, Eric. It's good to see you.
It's good to be seen. And just to set the stage, Charles and I have known each other for quite a while now. Charles used to be the executive director for an organization in Naperville called Loaves and Fishes, and I'm wearing some Loaves and Fishes swag. Since this is we're recording this on a Thursday, it'll likely be played on a Monday, but and who knows when you're going to be listening to it as the listener, but this is a Throwback Thursday shirt, and it reminds me of good times when you and I used to work together. So what I'd like to do today is, you've had a fascinating journey. You've had a huge impact on me. I'll set the stage. Back in 2008, I was going through a little bit of a rough time personally. And on public radio, I heard an announcement for volunteers for this little food pantry out in Naperville. And I showed up on a Saturday, got the volunteer walkthrough, and then bam, you came into my life. And we were pretty fast friends from there.
Yeah,
and,
I think I said, what do you do? Well, I work in IT. I'm like, great, we're trying to implement a new database. You can help us.
And it was pretty much, it just kind of took off from there. And I had no intention of doing anything work related. You know, it was really, I wanted to find a way to contribute to the community. And the message was just, it hit me at the right time. And then it's funny how, the world, the universe puts people into your life at the right time for the right reasons. And you were, and you still are, a mentor to me. And I appreciate all the things you've done. You helped grow that organization substantially. It was, it started in a church closet. And then the place that, when I first started volunteering there, it was not exactly a 5-star resort facility, and you managed to lead that organization to getting the funding to actually build a new facility, which there is still in use today. Tell the listeners a little bit about, how you got into the non-for-profit space and your leadership journey, how you evolved to do what you do, because you certainly got a gift for it.
Oh, well, thanks for the opportunity. And, like you, I started at Loaves and Fishes as a volunteer. As you may recall, I started volunteering there in 2006 after I moved into the area. And I asked my sister, what is a good organization to get involved with in the community? And she said, well, our church is involved with Loaves and Fishes. Go over there. So I went actually with my nephew as well, who was home from college for the summer, and taking a calculus course at College of DuPage. And she's like, I don't want him sitting around all summer, so take him with you and you guys can go volunteer. And so we showed up and said, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to, sort cans or pack boxes or bags or whatever? And filled out an application form. And they found out, that I had, previously been executive director of a grant-making foundation in New York City. And they said, well, do you know anything about grants? And I said, well, I do know a thing or two about grants. Well, could you help us? And that's how the relationship. And so I think Alex did actually start stocking shelves and packing bags at the time. And I started writing grants and helping with some fundraising. Then lo and behold, in January of 2008, I was asked to come on as a consultant, as an interim director. And then everybody just kind of started asking me, are you going to stay? Are you going to stay? The board finally asked me, are you going to stay? And I felt called to serve there, as you did. And then kind of the rest is history. So since that time, up until June 12th of this year, I've been a CEO in hunger relief and anti-poverty organizations, Loaves and Fishes, and then As Eric knows, I'm born and raised in Wisconsin, and I bleed green and gold for the Packers. And I've been trying to get back closer to home, closer to my elderly mother. So my first stop going back to Wisconsin was CEO of Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin in Milwaukee, which is the largest food bank in the state of Wisconsin. And then I was recruited to come back to Madison, which is, I went to high school and graduate school in Madison, and I was the CEO at the River Food Pantry. And really I've been a nonprofit executive since I was really for the past 25 years. And so I've had the opportunity to have really good mentors, both in, the corporate world and nonprofit world. And but as Eric knows, also my faith has always been an important component of how I lead. I like to always say that to lead with compassion, and so being able to integrate my faith in and how I have served, and how I try to be a servant leader. As well, and I try to be of service to the organizations that I'm a part of. I really view, not myself on the top of the org chart. I view myself on the bottom, holding everything up, and it's my job to hold that up and sustain that, and to be of service to everybody working in that organization. And so that's what I've been doing. And it's really interesting, where life leads us. On June 29th of this year, I took on the CEO role at Holy Wisdom Monastery. And it is a really interesting organization. It's been around since 1953, founded by the Benedictine Women of Madison, Benedictine Sisters. And I have been a member of the ecumenical faith community here since for over 3 years now, and I had the opportunity to serve on the board for a year and a half. And when Sister Mary David, who is the head of the community, decided last fall that she would, at 80 years old, she would finally step down from the CEO role and hire a CEO, people kind of started dropping hints, and couple of people really kind of started actively recruiting me. And when the board did a search this past spring, I got a call in the midst of managing the COVID crisis at the River Food Pantry, asking me if I would consider submitting my application. And it was, I must admit, it was difficult being present to an executive search and executive transition during that crisis. But I was selected as the CEO and started here on June 29th. And it's an amazing organization. The mission is weaving prayer, hospitality, justice, and care for the earth into a shared way of life. We have 191 acres of restored prairie that's open to the public. We have a retreat and guest center that normally welcomes thousands of people and thousands of visitors and guests on an annual basis. Welcoming individuals and some smaller groups here during the COVID crisis. But it's I think it would have been difficult for a total outsider to come into this organization and to be able to lead. But I have a relationship with the sisters, a trust level with the sisters, and there's some really good people here who are my coworkers. And so some people here, one of the longest term employees, have been here for 33 years. And so it's a place that has a history of caring for people and of really putting the mission into action. And so that's what attracted me. And I can continue to serve as I was serving as a high-level volunteer and trusted friend and advisor and supporter here before the CEO at the River. I just kind of switched hats. I said, I'm not leaving the River. I'm just switching roles, and so I can continue to be, a trusted friend, advisor, and supporter there as well. But this is kind of where my faith journey and my professional journey, kind of those roads just collided and intersected, and it's a really interesting opportunity for me and I'm hoping I'm really hoping that it's kind of my last stop before I retire. But you never know. I go where I'm called.
You're way too young to be thinking about retirement, sir.
I want to retire early.
Well, there's one common theme that has been consistent throughout, all the stops that you've mentioned, and through your career has been, service to people. And you are now dealing, like everybody is, with a global pandemic and a lot of what I would consider either misinformation or absence of information. And, one of my challenges through this has been, learning a lot of science when, there seems to be an anti-science movement happening around, at least, in our country. Tell me a little bit about how, being a people-centric leader, you mentioned servant leadership and being on the bottom of the pyramid. How has that helped you to navigate through this crisis, both in, at the river and in your transition here to the monastery? You mentioned, like, at the river, you've got people coming in, you already had a portion of the population that was food insecure. The pandemic increased that, certainly. So now you're dealing with a huge influx of new clients, as it were. And now you're transitioned over to a place that has, they welcome guests, and you have places for people to stay, and social distancing, and let's not have people around. So, I mean, you've had challenges. Explain how that people-centric servant leader mentality has served you well in dealing with this crisis.
So in the building where I have my office right now, it's actually our retreat and guest center. And in this building, the University of Wisconsin teaches its course on servant leadership. And people really come here to reflect and to serve. And so the director of operations, when I was coming on board, said, what do you want on your office plaque? Do you want CEO or chief executive officer? And I thought about it, and I'm like, that just doesn't feel right for this space. And so I said, put servant leader on it. So it literally says servant leader outside my office. And the Sister Mary David said, now we're going to hold you accountable. And I said, you better. I'm accountable.
Absolutely.
I am accountable to every single person in this order. I don't think that they're accountable to me. I'm accountable to them. I'm accountable to make sure that we have the right strategy, the right vision, enough resources. I'm also accountable to the board. But that's another story. But I really consider that I'm accountable for developing, ensuring that every all of my coworkers have what they need to be successful in their role. And if somebody is failing, it's my job to help try to address that and make sure that we're working with them to continue to develop them. So I have been blessed to work with some amazing people. I like to say, at least in the nonprofit world, no CEO can be better than his or her team, and also that no nonprofit organization can be better than their board of directors. So I really believe both of those, for me, have proven to be true. So, I certainly have the influence and the ability to get the right people on the bus, but then I have the responsibility that while they're on that bus and in the organization, that we're doing everything that we can for them to be successful, so that we can be successful in our mission. So that's really how I approach it. I love that, I went from really a mission of feeding people physically to the mission here is really feeding people spiritually and being a resource. And God knows that isn't that needed more than both are certainly needed right now, but people are starving spiritually. It is what is driving there seem to be people that have no conscience. They don't show, they don't know compassion because they've never really seen who is that person, the other. And so I believe that, one of our roles, and one of the things that I think that I like to say that we do in the nonprofit world, is that we connect community to compassion. And we're that space in between, that we are able to be that connector for these important programs. And here, since justice is one of the pillars of our mission, I'm still able to be involved in a lot of the social justice causes that are so important to me, and where I have really spent time and focus in my energy in my professional career.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. The country and the planet, it seems, is starving, both in a physical sense and in a spiritual sense. You can't turn on a TV these days without seeing the polarization that's happened. Social justice causes are front and center, as they should be. And that's why I think our job as leaders, we don't have to have a political stance in anything. It's just really human decency. It's all about treating one another with respect, and understanding that we don't have to agree on everything. You and I certainly don't agree when it comes to sports teams. I mean, you're as misguided as they come when that in that arena. but we have a deep friendship, a deep admiration, deep respect, because at the end of the day, we're both humans, and we're both driven to serve the people in our charge. And there's a couple things that stood out over the time that we spent together when you were back here in Illinois. I remember one time specifically, we were having a conversation about something and talking about not for profits, and you went, that's a tax code, not a way to run a business. Now, I don't know if you're claiming that as your own statement, or if somebody else brought that up, but I thought that was brilliant, because it really changed my mindset of, the not-for-profit space is no different than the for-profit space in terms of needs and how a business operates, and how you need to have that leadership structure, and how leaders need to be building other leaders. And there's really no difference between the not-for-profits and the for-profits. And as I've gotten deeper into,
it's just who owns the resources.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've gotten deeper into this, I've started to see that, there's these levels of operational maturity where you have, some of these organizations that still have the founders involved, where it was kind of a passion project, and they can't seem to get out of their own way, and they don't treat it like a business, and it's never going to, you can almost see it's never going to evolve into anything more than however much time and resources they can put into it. And then there's organizations, like when you were with Loaves and Fishes, that evolved from a closet, and the initial spark of that got out of the way, and professionals were brought in to continue the mission and continue the vision and take it to that next level. And you have to be structured like a business in order to function and attract. And one of the most amazing gifts I've seen is your ability to just go into a community, connect with the people in the community, and get them excited about the cause. Is that just something that has always come to you naturally, or was there somebody that helped you, really evolve that skill or that gift? Because I'll tell you, I've not come across anybody like you since then that has that the magnitude of the power to attract people to a cause like you did and still do.
I certainly have had the privilege of working with many wonderful people and great mentors. I have been blessed with a very strong work ethic, and also with a very strong sense of purpose and compassion. And if in order for me to be successful in an organization, I have to totally drink from the Kool-Aid. I mean, I have to. I believe it's my job as the leader to embody that mission, and to bring to attract other people. And so I believe it is a clarity of vision and purpose. And I get really excited to be able to share that. And I take, my responsibility as a leader very, very seriously. And so bringing other people to the cause and sharing that, you remember at Loaves and Fishes, we started the Share the Joy campaign, just to get,
Yes.
more people, volunteers. And that was a volunteer driven campaign to get so many other people involved in the process. And, look at the number of volunteers today, that are involved with Loaves and Fishes. And was able to, continue to that trend at the River. That was a founders organization that I was brought into because the board wanted to bring professional in to really take it to the next level. And we were able to make a lot of progress just in the 3 years that I was there. I believe in being strategic, and so both at Loaves and Fishes and at Feeding America had a strategic plan that Loaves and Fishes had never had a strategic plan. Feeding America had a strategic plan that I think they pulled out every 2 years and off the shelf when the national office came in to do their audit. That nobody was aware of. River, the same thing. They didn't have a strategic plan. As you may not be surprised that I had helped launch a strategic planning process, a visioning process back in January for this organization when I was on the board, using appreciative inquiry, using the SOAR, SOAR process, strengths, opportunities, aspirations, and results that I've been using since 2009 at Loaves and Fishes, when I was at Loaves and Fishes. And so really applying very sound business principles, starting with the strategic plan. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? And getting people excited about that and having people see themselves within that plan, you're able to continue to amplify that message, and it goes out into the community. And I mean, I think you may know this about me, but that I'm actually an introvert. That I can train myself.
As well.
Yeah, I mean, I train myself. It's where do you get your energy from? Like, I'm trained to get up in front of a big group, or I can go into a room and work a room and network like crazy. I'm not going to stand in the corner because I see that it's an opportunity for me to share that message. And so I think when you fully believe in the message that it's your job to promote, but it's also your passion, then it's easy to do that.
I think there's a couple of key takeaways there in the fact that the one thing about being able to attract people is you have to be genuine and authentic, right? I mean, people can spot a fake. People are pretty good at realizing when they're being sold something versus when somebody has a true passion. And that's kind of consistent. I've seen with you over the years that, when you're in, you're all in. You're not there just for a paycheck. You're not there just to, for personal gain. I mean, you're all in and you're all committed, and that's contagious. I mean, then you start attracting those people that are like, okay, why is this guy excited about this? And that authenticity and that genuineness shines through. And I think that's really the core of your success is, you've never been a fake plastic person. You've never sugar coated anything. It's really just that genuine authenticity. And then, when you've got people attracted to that, you talked about dusting off a vision or a mission statement or things like that. Then you have to, the next job as a leader is, now that you got people excited, is now you got to put that in your DNA. Like, that's got to be every day, the mission, the vision, that's got to be, we show up for the purpose. And, again, that's another skill that leaders either need to have or have to develop, because you can't just agree on something, stick it in the drawer, and then go back to business as usual, because nothing will ever change that way.
Yeah, and people have to see themselves in that plan, and employees need to know what is their role in making that a reality. And so being able to communicate that both externally and internally is very important, so that everybody's on the same page.
Well, let me ask you this. There's a lot of misconception out there about the millennials and Gen Z, having they get labeled as entitled, and all the nonsense that goes along with that. My personal opinion is that, those generations were the first to have access to all this information, and we're almost in a state of information overload. I think we are in a state of information overload, but it's never been easier for somebody to really dig in and find out who a company really is, and find out what they really stand for, or if they don't stand for anything. And I think it's just, those are the first generations to start holding companies accountable for their actions, and for, they don't want to just go be part of a machine. They actually want to be part of something that is positively impacting their world. And they get stomped on for it. And I just don't understand why. And I think that's the pain of change for the old guard. What's your take on that?
Well, it's I agree with you. I think the the generation that is privileged right now is the baby boomer generation. They're holding all of the wealth and the power. So. Right. It's it's transitioning. There's generational change happening, but I have seen plenty of examples, of especially like here in Madison, people that are working for young people that are working for companies like Epic, is one of our huge employers here. They pay very well, but it takes some churn and burn. And I know a couple of people who left that. It's like, no matter how much you pay me, it's not worth it. The quality of life that I have, and I need to be doing something with purpose. And they switched to a nonprofit career, because it does, it's not going to pay as much, certainly. But at the end of the day, they're going to really feel that they've made a difference, and that they've impacted other people and the world positively. So I do see that as a movement that is happening. And I think now, in light of the pandemic, there is certainly a lot of interest in working for companies that have a mission with purpose, that are working for justice and equity, and taking care of their people, but also taking care of the community and taking care of the planet. So I really do see that there are some hopeful signs. And like I am always try to be the eternal optimist. And somebody's saying, well, 2020 is just the worst year ever. It's just the worst year ever. We just can't wait to get out of 2020. And I said, well, how about if we looked at it this way? What if we look back on this as one of the best years ever? Because in 2020, all of the flaws within our current system, all of the inequities, all of the injustice, all of the, has really laid that bare. The lack of our investment in education, the lack of our investment in healthcare, the lack of our investment in infrastructure, and that the only thing that has been important is the corporate bottom line. What if it helps us to step back, and 2020 helps us to see clearly that that is no way to live? We're not living, we talk a lot about here, living in right relationship with each other and with all of creation. So what if we can take a big step forward in living in right relationship with each other and with all of creation? Then 2020 would have been a success.
It's all about perspective. I love that. I love how you presented that. And I was having on one of the other episodes, I had one of our coaches on who's helped us with our open book management, and we were talking about how the pandemic has affected negatively so many bottom lines because people didn't have contingencies and they weren't prepared, and they're more top-down structure where there's a few people telling a lot of people what to do, or you have things like private equity or venture capital that are just consumed with the bottom line and nothing else. And something like this comes in and upsets the apple cart, and the first thing to get cut is people. And we were kind of postulating, like, what would the pandemic have been like had every company in America been an open book company that went to their employees and said, what can we do? And in his company, the employees banded together and all took a pay cut, and then they took a second pay cut because they didn't want anyone to lose their jobs. They wanted to all suffer together, because if you share that suffering, it's less of a burden on any one person. And they had the bigger picture in mind of, like, we'll get through this, and we want this company to still be here on the other side.
Right.
That's that mentality that you just described. I mean, that could be a shift that changes the world if we started getting people to operate in that mindset. And you're so right. That's another job. I mean, it's a great example of leadership, of we set the tone for how other people perceive things, and perception becomes reality pretty quickly if it gathers enough steam.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been, again, a very, these things go fly by so quickly. Is there anything that we haven't touched on? You've definitely got a lot of experience from a leadership perspective. Is there any one thing you want to leave the audience with in terms of, people who are aspiring to be leaders, or they're just starting out on their journey, or they're in an organization and they want to, have a bigger impact? Is there like one sage piece of advice you could give that will have some major impact other than what you've already shared with us today?
Yeah, maybe just that you need to learn to be a good follower in order to be a good leader. And so leadership works both ways. It's every person provides leadership within an organization in their own way, and sometimes you need to be the follower. You need to, as a leader, I learned so much from other people, from my coworkers, that I am genuinely interested and curious in learning about them and learning about how they do their work, and being open to following them and learning from them. It makes me a better leader.
I love how these themes from the show are all interconnected. I mean, the common theme is, we all know one another, but there's a reason for that, right? The leadership circles that we've built over the years. But another common theme is, if you're the smartest person in the room, you probably haven't done your job as a leader. And I always joke that, well, in my case, there's a big enough pie to pick from. There's plenty of smarter people out there than me. But another thing is to just get out of their way, and it's that trust factor. Again, you're, like you said, the ability to learn from other people, because we don't know everything. We certainly don't, and I see that a lot in companies. Again, with that top-down corporate structure, though, I can't imagine the weight that must be on the shoulders of people like that, who operate in the I have to know everything mentality. Because, I mean, you've set yourself up to fail, because there's absolutely no way you can achieve that. So it's great advice. As always, that's why you're in the room with me, because I always put smarter people in the room. And except on Sundays when the Bears are playing. Although this year, you know what? It's been so long since I really can even hold that over you. It's not even a thing anymore. Well, we're both 2-0, but it's a different 2-0.
But I will remind you that the Bears are my second favorite team in the NFL. You know that. You remember that, right? It
wouldn't even matter if they were your 32nd favorite team. You're
well,
still
but ask me why they're my
heart.
ask me why they're my second favorite team in the NFL.
Why are they your second favorite team, Charles?
How else would the Packers get to the playoffs every year?
I set you. It's like I feel like I'm setting volleyballs for you to spike. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. I miss having you around here, but through the marvels of technology, we can still stay in touch. I definitely, when the pandemic is over, will be heading back up to Madison because I enjoy, hanging out with you up there.
We do have some beer. We have some beer up here, so.
Yeah, I've heard that there's a few places that.
Few places.
Yeah, cheese curds, beer. I usually come back with a cooler full of brats and things. So
and spotted cow.
Yes, spotted cow.
Right.
There's got to hit New Glarus and get the spotted cow. Charles, if anybody wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way to reach you if they want to reach out and just pick your brain on some leadership topics?
Sure. My email is C McLimans, so it's CMC LIMANS at holywisdommonastery.org.
Perfect. Again, I can't thank you enough for doing this. I appreciate our friendship. I appreciate all the things that you've taught me over the years.
And you've taught me a lot too. You spoiled me for life with knowing what good managed services feels like. So,
well, I have my team to thank for that. I'm the figurehead, and I get out of their way and let them do their amazing things. So, it's kind of you to say that, but again, I'm just surrounding myself with smart people and letting them do their thing.
Yep.
All right. Well, you take care, be well. And to everybody out there, thanks again for listening. This has been another episode of Tempered Leadership. My guest today has been Charles McLimans. Charles, you take care, be well, and we'll talk soon.
We'll see you, my friend. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.